Welcome to OGW Studios, and today at OGW we're going to be talking about the SWIFF Audio C10 Mini Tuner Pedal.
So I bought my SWIFF C10 Mini Tuner pedal from eBay for £18.69. Before purchasing this, I saw it for sale for $29.99 on Amazon. The pedal arrived quickly with no problems. Upon opening the pedal, I noticed that the packaging was very modern and very stylized. In the box you receive, it has the tuner, a user manual, both a piece of hook and loop, about the size of the bottom of the tuner. And my first impressions were it was very light. It felt slightly flimsy and a little bit cheap. And the note display is off center, which bothers me quite a lot, as I would like it to be just right considering I've paid for this item. Now, the actual action of the unit, there's very little to really go on. There's the two input jacks and there is the DC 9-volt input, but the main part of it is the display center, which also doubles as the button for activating it. After playing around with that button itself, I noticed that it's not as solid as something like a Boss TU3 or a TC Polytune. So let's go over a few points about the SWIFF C10 Mini Tuner. It is a chromatic tuner and it can only run off a 9-volt power adapter. It features an A4 range of 430 to 449 Hertz and a 10 millisecond response. Now, some negative feedback I have for the product. Upon further inspection of the unit, it's a neat little pedal. It's a nice little thing to have. I think its appeal runs out once you handle it and you feel that it is quite flimsy. All the components of it look a lot more expensive in the pictures online than they feel in person. Now, a few positive things I took away from handling this product is it is quite user-friendly. It does exactly what it says. It tunes. I have tested it and you'll see in the tests that it does its job. It does tune accurately as something like my TU3 that I have on my baseboard. And a point that really sticks to me is the size and weight. If you are looking for real estate and something with a small footprint, you're really not going to get much smaller than this, other than maybe something like the Pedal Train SST. Something I found particularly interesting about this item was that it weighs only 28 grams. So for a little bit of comparison, so we can make sense of that, a Boss TU3 weighs 390 grams. A TC Electronic Polytune Mini weighs 222 grams. The Pedal Train SST that we mentioned earlier, which is one of the smallest for taking up real estate you can find for a board, weighs 186 grams. Now, if you want to eliminate the pedal factor completely, you could buy yourself a Snark clip-on tuner. If we're doing a weight comparison there, a Snark clip-on tuner weighs 60 grams. And my final thing I'm going to compare, which I think proves the point massively, is the Alkaline 9-volt battery. The average battery you would find in many of your pedals on your boards weighs 45 grams. This really did surprise me when I handled the pedal, how light it was. And I did a configuration on my board with this pedal and it was barely a factor. I mean, other than it took up a power lead and a couple of jacks, it didn't really play a part on my board at all. I'm not sure how other people feel about that, but I kind of like the notion of a tuner just being there, not being a bother, not being an issue, and it just being there when you need it. So we're going to have a short demo now of the SWIFF C10 tuner in operation. We will test the unit against a couple of tune-ins on guitar, and we will also test it on bass.
So we're going to test out the SWIFF Audio C10 Mini Tuner against my Boss Chromatic Tuner TU3 model. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to test out with my RG7321, and that's in drop A tuning right now. I have put the 3 low strings out of tune. They should be AEA, so we'll test them out. First we shall try the TU3. These are kind of old strings, so they're quite sensitive, but doing the job, working exactly how I expect it to work. That low A is always tricky for any tune, even a TU3 it can be, without some minor adjustments. Yeah, TU3 doing exactly what it's supposed to do. No less than I expect. So now we'll turn off the TU3 and we will try the C10. Now I don't know if you can tell really from the angle that the camera is, that off-center dial does bother me quite a lot. So let's try with a low A first, would be a good test. Pretty spot on. So as you can see, C10 doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Something I said in the overview before is when I have used it and tested it out before, I've noticed that it works just fine. It tunes just fine. It's just, I think, component problems. I think it's just a bit flimsy. If it was a little harder, less plastic parts, it would be a lot better. As you can see, comparable to the TU3, there isn't much of a difference, as there should be with any tuners. Now, on to testing it with my Ibanez EDA 905 bass. So I've got my 5-string now bass, and that is in drop C tuning. Again, we'll just do the bottom sort of low strings. We'll start with the TU3 for the bass line. Working fine there. Working fine there, doing exactly as it's supposed to do. Now we'll turn on the SWIFF C10 and see how that handles it. So that's the first time I've had any issues with response time there, and it seems to be really playing up. See if I can reset it and if that helps. It seems to have helped, but you obviously don't want that when you're tuning up. Seems to be a response issue there. I don't know if it's the bass itself, it can't handle that note, it's a bit too low for it maybe, the frequency, but this does say that it is made to tune bass and guitars, but that is a little too temperamental for my liking there. And this hasn't obviously gone out with me on my board yet. I bought this as we were sort of off practicing and off gigging, so this is the first time I've really got to play around with it with my bass. So now we'll head over for a conclusion on what we think of the SWIFF Audio C10 Mini Tuner pedal. So the one prevailing feeling when I think about the C10 Mini Tuner is disappointment. It's definitely not what's advertised. It's not the same kind of quality that they say the materials are for the build. It's very flimsy and it's very light. It worked fine with the guitar at first, but really struggled when trying to tune the bass. Flexibility is very important for me. If I'm going to spend money on a pedal, no matter how little or how much, I want it to be able to be used for both guitar and bass. Now, if your main concern is space on the board, I would look at something like the TC Polytune Mini or the Korg Pitch Black Mini. I would definitely avoid this pedal if you were investing in a solid tuner that you need for your board. But if you are just looking to invest in a decent tuner for your board, go with something like a Boss TU3. I wouldn't want to play a 10 to 15 song set and have to tune a few times and rely on this. I don't think it would last even a couple of shows. So that's enough from OGW today. If you like the video, please like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends. Please leave some comments below and let me know what you'd like us to do next time. Take it easy. Take care.